What's up guys, my name's Rising and welcome back to another gun guide. In this series, we go deep into all of the important stats for every weapon in COD Mobile's multiplayer, and towards the end, I provide some class setups that works the best for that gun. And in today's video, we're finally going into the shotgun category and covering the brand new weapon that came with this season. This is the MX Guardian. First appeared in Modern Warfare 2, the MX Guardian is based on the Tavor TS-12 shotgun, manufactured by the Israel Weapon Industries. The MX Guardian in this game is a fully automatic shotgun, which does a base damage of 24, 16, 10, and 8 per pellets depending on the range of your encounters. And with this shotgun, we fire a total of 8 pellets per shell. This means within its maximum damage range, we deal 24 damage per pellet that hits the enemy. And if we hit all 8 pellets, we deal a total of 192 damage, meaning we have a one-shot kill potential. And similarly, you can see all of our maximum damage per shot values here. This is assuming every single pellet hits, which as you get to the longer ranges, that's just not going to be happening. This is just to show off the potential, and it'll make more sense when we look at the ranges. But before that, let's have a look at its rate of fire. And the MX Guardian has the fastest rate of fire in its class at 429 rounds per minute. This means if you don't get that one shot, which is definitely not going to be happening, you'll still get an extremely fast 2-shot kill at 140 milliseconds. And even with a 3-shot, you'll still kill in 280 milliseconds, which isn't really competitive, but it is actually quite impressive considering the fact that you're using a full auto shotgun.
However, time to kill means nothing if we don't look at its range profile, and so let's dive into that. And with this chart, the key thing to point out is I'm showing the minimum number of pellets you have to hit in order to maintain the number of shots to kill that are laid out. So in the first damage range, which is from 0 to 2 meters, we can get a one-shot kill as long as 5 out of the 8 pellets from that one shot hit the target. So it's not a super consistent one-shot kill, but if you're just touching the enemy with the barrel of your gun, there is of course a one-shot potential. And in the second range, which is from 2 to 7 meters, you need to hit 7 out of your 8 pellets in order to get a one-shot kill, which is never going to be happening if we consider its Hipfire Spread. However, what is more practical is its 2-shot potential, where in its third damage range, which is from 7 to 10 meters, you need to hit 10 out of your 16 pellets from the 2 shots to get that 2-shot kill. However, beyond that range, a 2-shot kill is pretty much unrealistic, and you'll need 3 or more shots depending on the range you're challenging your encounters. It is also worth mentioning that the maximum hit potential with the MX Guardian is 32 meters, and beyond that you can't even hit a target, which is pretty obvious with all the shotguns in the game. So your best interest will lie in getting that 2-shot kill, and you must try to keep your engagements within that 10 to 12 meter mark. And of course, whenever possible, try to close the gap between you and your enemies so that you can make the most efficient use with this gun.
And many of you might be wondering how this shotgun holds up against other full auto shotguns in the game. So I just threw all of them here to have a side-by-side comparison with the MX Guardian. And don't write off the fact that some of these can get a one-shot all the way to its maximum hit range. This is just the theoretical potential if we consider that all the pellets hit the enemy, which is not going to be happening. And what we're more interested in is their 2-shot potential, and we can see that the MX Guardian has the fastest 2-shot time to kill among all of them, mainly because of its fastest fire rate and its class. This makes it a very good option if you want to spam it at close ranges. However, the most lethal shotgun out of these is still going to be the Striker, where you need to hit 5 out of 10 pellets in order to achieve a one-shot kill till 5 meters. And due to its high pellet count, it can very consistently get 2 shots up to a very respectable range. The Echo is possibly the worst one here as it has the slowest rate of fire, and in fact its 2-shot time to kill is slower than the 3-shot time to kill of the MX Guardian. However, the JAK-12 is the one that comes the closest to the MX Guardian in terms of their usages. The JAK-12 does have more number of pellets, which makes those 2-shot kills a little more consistent, but it has the worst maximum hit potential at just 29 meters, and in those mid-range situations, you'll be requiring more number of pellets to hit, unlike the MX Guardian. And finally, for the Einhorn, it does look promising on paper, however there are other flaws associated with it, primarily its extremely high recoil, low magazine capacity, and slow mobility. The MX Guardian thus seems to be overall quite effective in terms of its lethality and ranges. However, the stat that is more relevant for a shotgun is going to be its pellet spread, and since the in-game values don't tell much about it, I'm going to compare how the spread actually looks in-game. Keep in mind that the spread is totally random and we don't have any control on it whatsoever. However, with this comparison, you'll get a rough idea about their spread radius and decide whether you want to improve them with attachments. And what we're seeing from here is that the MX Guardian has the widest hipfire spread among all the other fully auto shotguns, and even in terms of ADS spread, it is tied with the Striker and the Einhorn, having the worst spread value. However, unlike the other pump or lever action shotguns, you don't need to worry about the spread too much, as you can just spam it in close ranges and you can get those kills quite effortlessly. But just like with all of the other shotguns, if you aim down your sights, it significantly tightens up your pellet spread, and therefore if you are starting to stretch that range out a little bit, you always want to at least try to get aim down your sight to hit as many pellets as possible. So in order to get a tighter spread up close, your best interest should lie in improving the spread with attachments as much as possible.
Next, let us get into some handling stats, and its aim down sight time is standard for the full auto shotguns at 200 milliseconds, which is quite fast compared to other weapons in the game. And the same goes for its sprint out time, which is also standard in its class, but it is a little bit on the slower side if you want to compare it with SMGs, for instance. However, for its mobility, it is unfortunately tied with the Einhorn having the worst mobility across the board, especially for its sprint speed, which is actually way less than what we get for the other full auto shotguns in the game. This is one area where the MX Guardian doesn't shine, and in fact it feels quite sluggish if you're running around with this gun, which you should typically be doing with a full auto shotgun like this. As for its magazine capacity, first off, this is a mag-fed shotgun, and in a single mag you get 15 rounds with 60 in reserve. However, the reload times with this are actually very slow at 1.92 seconds for its tactical reload and 2.10 seconds while empty. Especially with the fact that this is a full auto shotgun with a fast rate of fire, you're going to be burning through that mag and be forced to reload quite often. So for this reason, I prefer using sleight of hand while it does reduce our reload time to 1.63 seconds, which is definitely a good improvement over the base. We do have access to only one magazine, which is the MX Pro Mag, but it has no effect on its magazine capacity or reload time whatsoever, and instead it improves our handling stats slightly, so this mag isn't going to be a worthwhile attachment to be using on this gun.
And that right there is going to cover the base stats of this gun. And I just want to point it out, there is a perk which converts this weapon to semi-auto, but its damage values stay unchanged and you don't get any realistic benefits with that whatsoever. So I'd stay far away from that and rather prefer the base full auto fire. And with that out of the way, now let us see how to build this gun effectively. Although, unlike the other Modern Warfare 2 weapons, the MX Guardian doesn't have a whole lot of attachments to choose from. And in fact, some of the attachments like the stock and the grip, for instance, do not provide any realistic upside that is worth having on this gun. So the best way that I've found to build this gun is by minimizing its hipfire spread. For this, we're using the Bryson Improved Choke for a better hipfire spread, the MXG Mobile Barrel, which is the only attachment for this gun that improves our mobility and also improving our hipfire spread. We have the 1 milliwatt laser and the Lock Grip Precision 40 Underbarrel, which also contribute towards hipfire. And finally, I'm topping it off with Sleight of Hand. With this, our hipfire spread is tightened up very nicely, and when you look at the stats, our maximum hipfire spread is surprisingly better than the maximum spread when you aim down your sights. Our mobility stats are also improved slightly with that barrel, which is definitely nice to see, and our reload time is also improved, which is again something you definitely want to have on a weapon like this.
But with that, that is going to wrap up on today's breakdown on the brand new MX Guardian. When it comes to my thoughts, I actually think this is a straight up upgrade on the Einhorn in every possible way you may think of. Even though it has a slower mobility, what keeps it in check is its fast fire rate. And like every other full auto shotgun, this performs extremely well in those close ranges, especially if you're in a hard point, it can clear it in no time. But once you start stretching those ranges, you'll experience a damage drop off and you must try to close the gap between you and your enemies accordingly. Overall, I'm actually enjoying it quite much, and I'd say that it's a fun weapon to be hanging around with. This could also be a very solid overkill option if you're using an assault rifle or an LMG. But of course, those were my thoughts, and now I'd love to hear what you guys think of the MX Guardian. Do you think it's overpowered, underpowered, or perfectly balanced, as all things should have been? Just let me know all those down below. Next onwards, I'll be working on the other guns that got buffed in this season based on what you guys have voted in my recent YouTube post. And in case if you've missed any of my previous gun guides, I'll leave the links to the playlists in the description of this video. If you want builds for all the weapons, then join my Discord server. Also, if you want to support me, then feel free to become a channel member and gain exclusive perks at a very cheap rate. And so if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe to see future content and leave a like on this video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.